welcome to Farmer's Guide on O.O.K Farms Radio TV. Good afternoon. My name is Eniyan Falibanus. Just call me Sakadeli, and welcome to Farmer's Guide. So today, this program, I'm going to tell you about it in case you're joining us for the very first time. This is a program that is intended to equip farmers with essential knowledge that they need to carry out on their day-to-day activities on their crops, on their farms, and whatever it is that you plant or intend to harvest. So yeah, today we would be talking about cassava cultivation. Yeah. All right. There's a lot that goes going down with cassava. Yes. So when we talk about cassava, don't think, oh, that's too much. No, I mean, cassava is very important. We cannot even overemphasize it. So yeah, let's talk about cultivation of cassava. Let's begin with the very first step in cassava production, that is selecting the quality of cassava that you plant. Okay, the quality is very important. It's crucial to source healthy and disease-free cassavas. Okay, cassava stems or cuttings from reliable suppliers. And once again, that's where you can always trust O.O.K Farms. We can help you to source out your healthy cassava or cutting your cassava from a very reliable source. Yeah, that's it. So the very first thing I'm talking about is the production of cassava, and that is the planting. I mean, if you don't plant, how then do you harvest? So yes, the planting of cassava has to be that you need a disease-free cassava. So when you get it eventually and you plant it, you can sure go back to your bed and expect a healthy cassava when it's production season. Make sure that the stems are free from pests, infections, or signs of derogation to ensure a strong start for your cassava farm. Okay, that's like I said, it's very important. You don't go ahead and plant a cassava that has, all sort of diseases and you expect it to germinate and be healthy. Well, it is whatever you give to the soil that is going to multiply back to you. Let us always remember that. Once you have your planting materials, it is time to prepare the land. Cassava thrives in a well-drained soil, so ensure proper soil preparation by clearing the land of weeds, rocks, and debris. Consider incorporating organic matter and appropriate fertilizers to improve soil fertility and structure. Yes, it is very important for you to plant it. They say, how you lay your bed is how you lie on it. Exactly what it is for cassava as well. You really need to make sure that you clear your soil of, whatever would not make your cassava grow. I mean, you do not just venture into farming. You ask the questions. I don't know that some persons, just before they decide to be farmers, they must have taken 1, 2 classes about it and make sure that they are ready. And even though that you cannot go on with all of this, you took the classes, but some things are not just coming together for you. O.O.K Farms Radio, television, we got you always. Rather than go out somewhere and invest your money in something that you don't know about, and at the end of the day, you're regretting it, speak to us at O.O.K Farms. We know exactly what to do and when to do it. Okay, so you need information, check out O.O.K Farms Radio Television. You need us to stand in between yourself and your customers. We know exactly how to do that. You want us to package for you. You want us to sell to you. You want us to lease farmlands to you. All of these are things that we do on air. Okay, so I was talking about clearing your land of weeds. Very important. You don't just go, oh yeah, I want to plant cassava, and then you buy whatever land you think you want to buy. The soil, you do not even test to see if the soil is good enough. You probably just want to throw away your money. Like, it's so much, opa, and you're thinking of discarding it somehow. Yeah, but then if you're really interested in planting, harvesting, and making profit off whatever you are planting, cassava especially, then you really need to check out what your soil is like, what your land is like, and make sure it is once again free of weeds, rocks, and debris. When planting cassava, Spacing is crucial for optimal growth and yield. Yeah. Dig planting holes in a recommended distance of 1 meter between rows and zero point 0.8 meters within the row. Place the cassava stems horizontally or diagonally and make sure that you're doing it right so that your cassava have enough space to grow. It is very important for you to do that, okay? And you really need to check out your farmland. Your farmland and your crops are like babies. You bet a baby, you don't just take the baby out from the hospital and feel like, oh yes, the baby's just going to grow. The baby would feed on whatever you want to feed it with. I mean, you cannot give a baby boy or a baby girl a new baby, right? You cannot give them, say, swallow immediately they are born. You have to breastfeed them, give them some cereal as advised by the doctor just before you introduce them to semi-solid foods, right? That's the same way you need to take care of your cassava. Make sure you follow the right steps so that you can get the right results. At the end of the day, you're seeing it and you're excited, like, yes, this was produced by my farm, and now the results are out and I am enjoying it. Ensuring at least 2 or 3 pods are buried. I'm talking about planting the cassava right. After planting, it is essential to provide adequate moisture, okay, for cassava establishment. Irrigate the field if necessary, especially during the dry season or in the areas where limited rainfall is allowed, okay? However, be cautious not to overwater, as excessive moisture can lead to root rot or disease development. It's very important. There are some crops that they love water, but not no matter how much crops love water, you still have to gauge it. Check out, oh, do I use 1 liter of water? In a plant where you have to use 1 liter of water, if you use 1.5 or you use 2 liters, you know that you are heading for doom, and that plant will probably not grow or it becomes, premature or the growth be staunch. So make sure that you do not overwater your farmland when you're planting your cassava if you want the best of results. Let's quickly go on this break. We will be right back. Thank you so much for joining us, and I really do appreciate you, Sakadeli. And this is Farmer's Guide on O.O.K Radio TV. So yes, I'm back. And just before the break, we were talking about cassava. Planting your cassava so that you can harvest it and get something out of your farmland. Okay, I'm still talking about your cassava plants growing. All right, as your cassava plants grow, ensure that you weed control your farmland. It is very special and it is important to minimize competition for nutrients. I mean, you really need to check out that your cassava is not struggling to grow. So you need to minimize the weed control. I mean, beg your pardon, you really need to weed control your farmland so that you can check for your cassava's growth. Weed control is vital to minimize competition for nutrients, water, and sunlight. Okay, imagine that two elephants on a farmland. You know that they say that when two elephants fight, the farmland will suffer. Just the same way, your cassava and your wheat coming into competition, and your cassava might not win at the end of the day. So why do you want to throw caution in the wind when you can actually help your cassava by checking out its environment, what environment is growing into, and you can determine what type of production your cassava would be at the end of the day. Regularly remove weeds manually or employ appropriate weed management techniques to help you. Herbicide is a thin herbicide application. Ensuring adherence to recommended safety practices is a thing as well. Once again, make sure that you're checking your farmland from time to time to take out weed are unwanted plants growing around you. If you have a cassava farm and a groundnut is growing on that farm, that cassava Beg your pardon, that groundnut is a weed, so you need to take it out of it. Okay, if you are growing a cassava on your farmland and say beans is growing, then that's weed. Okay, you need to take it out so that your cassava can have for itself full nutrients of everything you're providing it with, and it can come out making you really feel good. All right. Pay attention to pests and diseases. That's a very good one that you have to do to your cassava that may affect your cassava. It's very important for you to check for, pests and diseases. All right. And no, like I said earlier about herbicide, you can actually check out your farmland and make sure that you are guiding it jealously. If you just leave your cassava to grow, you don't care about it, when you get back to it, however, it might not be producing what you thought that it was producing. Okay, so you really need to check that out. Check out for diseases that may affect your pests, your cassava, like I said. Common pests include mites and millipog, millipogs, okay, millipogs. All right, you really need to check out for these and make sure that you're protecting it. And of course, there are insecticides that you can use on your cassava plants that are not harmful to consumption at the end of the day. So you check this out, find out from your farmer store what you can use to protect your cassava from these pests and diseases. All right, another disease like cassava brown stick can significantly impact your cassava, and that's not a good thing. Okay, regular scouting and timely interventions such as integrated pest management IPM practices and disease resistance varieties can help mitigate these threats. Okay, all you have to do is watch out for it. If you just plant your cassava and you're not monitoring it, you're not checking it from time to time to see its growth, you're probably not even ready to become a farmer. You probably just planted and you're like, oh, you're leaving it to whatever, it's going to grow at the end of the day. No, that's not how to nurture a cassava to grow. You really need to check it out from time to time, dedicate your time to it. There's something called time management that we will discuss later on Farmer's Guide or on an episode on O.O.K radio television, where you can minimize your time and check out what time you'll be giving to what plants or what time you'll be going to what plants. Okay, so you really need to take your time to get this if you really want a great result. Cassava is generally a low input crop, but proper nutrition is crucial for optimal growth. Conduct soil tests to determine nutrient deficiencies and apply fertilizers accordingly. Adequate levels of macronutrients, particularly nitrogens, and potassium are essential for healthy cassava development. Okay, as your cassava plants reach maturity, it is time to prepare for the harvest. And this is the part I know that a lot of person love, because when it is harvest, you are raking in whatever you think you have invested on your farmland. Cassava is typically ready for harvest within 9 to 12 months. Yes, so yes, you need to, once you plant it, you need to start counting and giving it a lot of attention to make sure it grows between this period of months, okay? And depending on the variety, look for signs such as yellowing leaves, dry stems, and loose soil around the tubers as indications of maturity. These are things that you look out for. Like I said, yellowing leaves, dry stems, and loose soil around your cassava, your tubers. So that's exactly some of the things you should look out for to know that your cassava has reached maturity for you to harvest. Harvesting cassava involves carefully uprooting the plants and removing the tubers from the ground. Be cautious to avoid damaging the tubers during the process. Cut off the stems, cut off the stems close to the tubers, leaving a small portion to serve as a handle for easier handling and transport. Okay, it is very important. Don't just cut anyhow. Yes, because my cassava has reached maturity now, and then I want to take it out, and I feel I could take it out anyhow. You really need to what? To watch it. Another thing you need to do when uprooting the plants and removing the tubers from the ground is that you need to watch out not to damage these tubers. Be very, very cautious. Be very, very cautious. Let's talk about proper post-harvest handling. That's very important. And I know some farmers who already have trucks who would help them carefully move their cassavas from the farmland to maybe production sites. Some persons will turn it into a lot of things just before it gets to the final consumers. Some would harvest and sell it off immediately, sell it to maybe other farmers or other people who are in need of it to produce one or two. Okay, so if you have a van, a truck, which will help you to transport it from your farmland to whatever is the destination, then you really need to take care of this as well. You need to watch out for how you carefully carry your cassava from the farmland to the vehicle. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. How you carry it carefully from the farmland to its destination is very important, because um if you have newbies around you, green aunts, you're just inviting them to the farmland, they don't know how to go about these things, then you really need to give them cautions, give them rules and regulations to go by. Maybe do not pull the cassava by the stem, or do not pull the cassava just by the middle. Carefully handle it, and all of that is very important, because what's the need planting your cassava and it doesn't get to the final consumers? I mean, that's not cool enough. Remove any soil or debris from the tubers and store them in a cool, dry place and well ventilated area, of course. Depending on your market and, of course, your end use, you may choose to process the cassava into various products, right, such as gari, flour, or chips. Yeah. So, however, your production after your cassava production is left to you. But make sure that you are taking good care of your cassava, so that when it eventually gets to the final consumer, we can say a very big prayer for the farmer. Like, oh, thank you, Farmer Sakadeli, for producing this. We really love it. When I come back from this break, it's every time for me to wrap up. Please stay with me. Thank you so much for choosing OK Times Radio Television. Sakadeli still with you, of course. And this is a time where I have to say my goodbyes. Thank you so much for coming on the show with me today, Farmer's Guide. And we spoke about the production of cassava, and I didn't leave you as is. I walked you through the proper post-harvest handling of your cassava as well. So make sure you keep it a date with me next week again, and make sure that you're treating your cassava right. And another thing to hold on to is patience. If your cassava is yet to mature, just be patient with it. In 9 to 12 months, you would be smiling to the farm. Thank you so much. My name is Eni Yanufale. But no stress, call me Sakadeli. It's been me on O.O.K Farms Radio Television. Bye.